and welcome to RAX Editor tutorial. This is the first part of our tutorial in using RAX Editor to generate payslips. In this tutorial, we will cover the following items. So get your computers ready and let's get right to the tutorial.
Let's prepare the files for our Payslip workflow. Create a folder on your desktop and name the folder Payslip. Place the Word template and payroll spreadsheet file inside the Payslip folder. The payroll spreadsheet would hold the different values that we would be placing on the Word document. You would notice that the Word document has different special characters. These characters would be replaced with the correct values once our workflow has been created. Create two new folders inside the Payslip folder to store the Word and PDF documents that would be created during the automation process. Name the folders as Doc and PDF respectively. Now that the folders have been created, open RAX Editor and create a new workflow. Click the New button, then browse for the Payslip folder in order to save the workflow that we would be creating inside that location. Name the workflow as Payslip Automation Workflow. Upon creating a new workflow, there would be a sequence activity by default inside the workflow area. Add a new sequence activity inside the original sequence. Rename the activity as looping sequence. Drag and drop an Excel sequence activity inside the looping sequence. On the file path input box, click on the Browse button and choose the payroll spreadsheet file inside the Payslip folder on your desktop. This would designate it as the Excel file where we would be pulling the values from. To get the values from a row on that Excel file, we would need to add a read row activity. Search for the read row activity and place it inside the Excel sequence. Let's declare a variable. Click the Variable button to expand the Variable section, then click on the Create Variable text. Set the variable name as row, the variable type as int32, and the default value of the row variable to 2. We need to store the values collected from the read row activity. The required type of storage for read row activity is an IEnumerable object. Create new variable and click Create Variable button. Set the variable name as PS data. For the variable type, since the IEnumerable object type is not shown by default, we would need to choose Browse for Types on the Variable Type drop-down list. On the Type Name input box, type IEnumerable. This would filter the list and you should click on the IEnumerable T under Systems.Collections.Generic. You should see directly under type name the text System.Collections.Generic.IEnumerable dropdown. Click on the drop-down button and choose Object. Afterwards, you click on the OK button. Click the Read Row activity. On the Activities Worksheet input box, type Payroll. This is because on our payroll spreadsheet file, the values are on a worksheet tab named Payroll. On the row input box of the read row activity, type in row.toString. We would be using the variable that we have previously declared as the value for the row, which is currently set as 2. The reason is that when you check our payroll spreadsheet file, there is a header on the sheet and we would not really need those values. Hence, we would begin on the second row. You can see the read row attributes on the rightmost side. Under the output category is an attribute named values with an input box beside it. Type PS data. This would store all of the values pulled from the redraw activity inside the PS data variable. Data stored inside the PS data variable could be accessed individually. Data stored would begin with 0. The first item stored, since we are currently on the second row of the Excel sheet, would be Kit Harrington. This is designated as 0. The employee number would be 1 and so on and so forth until the last column whose value would be 46. For this workflow, create a new variable net pay with a variable type of string. We would need to assign a value to net pay from our spreadsheet values. We could do so by dragging an assign activity outside and directly under the Excel sequence. On the to input box, type net pay, and on the value input box, type in PS data 45 dot to string. Add an if activity below the assign activity. On the condition input box, type in net pay equals double quote 0. This is because the employees on the spreadsheet have been sorted in such a way that if the value on the net pay column of the spreadsheet is 0, these employees should not be receiving their payslip and should be disregarded. The if activity has two columns, namely the then and else paths. The then path would be the path taken if the condition is met. Since we know that if the net pay is equal to 0, our automation should already end and we need to create another variable. Let us name the variable as automation done with a variable type of boolean and a default value of false. We have to flag that the automation is done if in case the then path is taken. Add an assign activity inside the then path. On the to input box, type in automation done, while on the value input box, let us type in true. Now that we have finished the path, if the condition is met, let us add in a sequence activity on the else path in order for us to handle if in case our original condition is not met. On this path, we would need to save our Word document and PDF files inside the doc and PDF folders that we created previously. Declare the directories by creating the following variables. File path word would be a string variable with a default value of the doc folder. File path PDF would again be a string variable with a default value of the PDF folder path. Always remember that strings should be enclosed in double quotes. Declare a new variable named name with a variable type of string. Inside the else path sequence activity, add an assign activity. On the to input box, type name, and on the value input box, place PS data 0 dot to string. Since we want to retain the original Word template document, let us add a file copy activity. On the source input box, browse for the location of the Word template file. While on the destination input box, type in file path word plus name plus underscore payslip.docx. This would make a copy of the Word template document named Kit Harrington _ payslip.docx inside the doc folder for the initial part of the execution. We now need to update the personalized Word document. Add a word sequence activity after the file copy activity. The file path would be file path word plus name plus _ payslip.docx. Inside the word sequence activity, add in a sequence activity. Rename the sequence to replacing data sequence. Drag a replace text activity inside the replacing data sequence. Copy the special character from the Word template and place it on the search input box. Remember that this is a string and should be placed inside double quotes. Now, on the replace input box, type psdata0.toString. Alternatively, you could use name since the variable already contains the same value. This means that RAX Editor would look for that special character and replace that character with the text inside the replace input box, which happens to be the value pulled from the Excel document. Add replace text activities inside the replacing data sequence in order to search for each special character and replacing them with a specific value from the psdata variable. Once everything is done, we could now create a PDF copy of the document. Let us add in an export to PDF activity inside the Word sequence directly below the replacing data sequence. On the file path input box, type file path PDF plus name plus _ payslip.pdf. This would create a copy of the Word document that we have created in PDF format.
That's it for the first part. Check out the second part of this video to complete the tutorial. For more information, visit our website at support.raxsuite.com. Thanks for watching! Make sure to check out our other video tutorials at RAX Automation Suite YouTube channel. See ya!